Kansas City area tornadoes add to 12 straight days of destruction. Salina, Ohio. The tornado screeching across southern Ohio on Monday night triggered a cell phone alert that roused Rich Schlarman. He ignored it. "We only made it down about 4 steps when I heard a loud boom," Mr. Schlarman said. "If we hadn't made it on Tuesday, his home was a shambles, walls bent, doors tilted, the roof gone, another house crippled amid a stretch of severe weather that has tormented communities from the Rocky Mountains to the Mid-Atlantic in recent weeks." Now the severe weather had come to Salina, a city of about 10,000 people about 60 miles northwest of Dayton, causing the kind of devastation that has left state after state with ruined buildings and grieving families this spring. In the last week alone, the authorities have linked tornadoes to at least 7 deaths and scores of injuries. Federal government. The barrage continued Tuesday night, as people across the Midwest took shelter from powerful storms. A particularly destructive storm splintered homes, ripped up trees and downed power lines southwest of Kansas City. One tornado hit on the East Coast. Tornado and severe thunderstorm warnings were issued in parts of northern New Jersey and on Staten Island in New York. From mid-April on, it's just been on a tear, said Patrick Marsh, the warning coordination meteorologist at the National Weather Service's Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma. What has really set up? Read more on the killing at least one. Tuesday was the 12th consecutive day with at least 8 tornado reports, breaking the record, according to Dr. Marsh. The storms have drawn. "We are flirting in uncharted territory," Dr. Marsh said of the sustained period of severe weather. Typically, forecasters said that even the briefest of reprieves might not come until late this week, and another round of severe weather erupted on Tuesday afternoon. Climate change is increasingly linked to extreme weather, but limited historical information, especially when compared with temperature data that goes back more than a century, has made it difficult for researchers to determine whether rising temperatures are making tornadoes more common and severe. Carrie A. Emanuel, a professor of atmospheric science at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology who specializes in hurricanes, noted that the science of the connection between tornadoes and climate change is simply less comprehensive than what researchers have compiled on tropical cyclones. Dealing with tornadoes and climate change, he said, is absolutely complicated, and there are relatively few papers that discuss tornadoes and climate because it's almost impossible to see any signal in the data. What's more, but researchers have found that tornadoes are. In Ohio on Tuesday, residents and emergency officials were responding to the destruction that happened overnight, when radars glowed with the telltale signatures of violent storms. The worst of the weather. The federal government said Tuesday that its initial reports showed at least 10 tornado touchdowns across 6 counties, which were left to contend with spotty phone service, blocked streets, boil water advisories and sporadic evacuations. Tens of thousands of customers spent at least some of Tuesday without electricity as emergency workers went door to door in some communities in search of victims. Ohio task. Read more on the. Mike Robbins, the emergency management director for Mercer County, said an 81-year-old man had died in Salina when the storm picked up a vehicle and slammed it into his home. He said that but emergency officials said the low death toll was most likely a result of robust warnings that gave people time to seek shelter. After sunrise on Tuesday, Tammy King, 51, sat on what remained of her front porch in Dayton, smoking a cigarette and salvaging what she could on her property, where metal had twisted around a tree. Her living room was. "We got 2 alerts on our phones. After the second others also received alerts but were only prodded to safety when they heard the fury that was unfolding outdoors. I was watching the news and was taking the news of a tornado with a grain of salt until I heard the wind and my back door slamming open and shut," Eddie Whitehead said on Tuesday as he waited for an insurance adjuster in Dayton. "Today I am sitting." The windows of his home were blown out, and mangled metal rested in his front yard. Yet he was among the Dayton area's faintly fortunate. His house still stood, sandwiched between two that no longer did. Dire warnings and frantic rushes to safety have taken place across the country in recent weeks, and the nation's tornado death toll has reached its highest level since 2014. So far this year, few with extensive damage. Forecasters noted that the bursts of severe weather have followed years of relative calm, at least when it came to tornadoes, after the 2011 storm season when hundreds of people were killed. "We've had a very quiet few years," Dr. Marsh said on Tuesday morning. "And when we go back, about 4 hours later, the government issued more tornado warnings." Kevin Williams reported from Salina, and Alan Blinder from Atlanta. Reporting was search for location/city.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park.